Let's get into the meat of the program here. Today, we're going to dive into an essential comparison, Austrian monetary economics versus Keynesian economics, and look at how these two economic schools of thought view the role of silver as money. As we explore this, we'll uncover not only the theoretical differences between the two approaches, but also how they impact the precious metal we know and love, silver. Let's get into it. The Austrian School of Economics, a sound money foundation. To understand Austrian economics, we need to start with its core belief, the importance of sound money. The Austrian school, founded by figures like Karl Menger and Ludwig von Mises, emphasizes that money should have intrinsic value, meaning that it's backed by something tangible. For Austrians, silver and gold are perfect candidates for money because they have intrinsic value based on their scarcity, utility, and long-standing historical use. Austrians believe that money must be a store of value, a unit of account, and a medium of exchange. How about you? Silver has naturally fulfilled these roles throughout history. In fact, silver was widely used as money for thousands of years, and its role hasn't diminished despite the fact that the rise of fiat currencies. Austrians argue that a sound money system based on something tangible like silver helps prevent the destructive efforts of inflation and currency devaluation. One key tenet of Austrian economics is the belief that the importance of free markets. They argue that money should emerge naturally, chosen by individuals and businesses based on its utility. In this view, silver's ability to maintain purchasing power over long periods of time makes it an excellent candidate for money. It isn't a subject to the whims of central banks or governments, a commodity with a value that isn't artificially manipulated. This sets it apart from fiat money, which, according to Austrians, can be easily printed by governments, leading to inflation, a hidden tax on the public, and economic instability. Keynesian economics, the role of government in money creation. Now let's shift gears and look at Keynesian economics. The Keynesian model, the Keynesian view, named after economist John Maynard Keynes, advocates for active government intervention in the economy. These are real bright people doing this, huh? Especially during times of economic downturns. Unlike Austrians, Keynesian believe that money should not be necessarily a commodity like silver or gold. Instead, it can be fiat money, currency that has value because the government says it does, not because it's backed by a physical commodity. For Keynesians, the role of silver as money is far less important. They prioritize the ability of central banks to adjust the monetary supply to stimulate the economic growth and manage inflation. In their world, the central bank can print money, lower interest rates, engage in various forms of quantitative easing to manage economic cycles. Keynesians argue that the flexibility of fiat money allows for greater control over the economy, especially in times of crisis. While Austrians view inflation as a result of too much money being injected into the economy, Keynesian argued that some inflation is actually a sign of a healthy economy. Wrong. Necessary for growth. They believe that in times of economic stress, central banks should have the power to create money, regardless of its backing by precious metals like silver. In fact, under the Keynesian model, silver and other commodities may be seen secondarily to the overall effectiveness of the monetary policy. The impact on silver, Austrian versus Keynesian views. So where do silver and precious metals fit into the two systems? For Austrians, silver is more than just a commodity. It's a foundation of the money itself. They view silver as a safeguard against inflation and an alternative to the debasement of fiat currencies. In an Austrian world, silver can act as a store of wealth, preserving purchasing power when fiat currencies fail or lose value over time. The value of silver, according to Austrians, is inherently tied to scarcity and its role in the market. It's a natural form of money that's independent of government control. On the other hand, for Keynesians, silver's role as money becomes less relevant. With fiat currency being the primary means of exchange, silver is relegated to the status of a commodity, valuable for industrial use. That's why people are buying bars and rounds. They don't understand Austrian monetary economics, which is what we're heading back to. Investment or as a hedge against the economic uncertainty, but not a true form of money. In fact, Keynesians might view the gold standard or a silver-backed currency as an outdated system that constrains the government's ability to manage the economy. To them, silver may serve as a store of value, but it doesn't need to serve as money in the same way it did in the past. So here's the key difference: central control versus market choice. What are you in favor of? The most significant difference between Austrian and Keynesian economics with respect to silver as money lies in their approach to control. Austrians believe in centralization, decentralization. Free markets should decide the value of money, don't you think? And silver is a perfect example of this. They advocate for limiting government intervention in the economy and reject fiat currency systems. Are you in that camp? If so, stay tuned. In contrast, Keynesian sees central control as crucial for economic stability, believing that the government must have the ability to regulate money supply in order to ensure growth and manage inflation. Well, that's why they fund these pet projects that go off the deep end and wind up losing hundreds of millions of dollars because they're close to the keyboard. Silver's timeless role, bridging two worlds. So what's the takeaway for us today, Ted Heads? Whether you subscribe to Austrian economics or Keynesian theory, the importance of silver remains. For Austrian, silver is an essential form of money that guards against inflation, while for Keynesians, silver may not be as central to monetary policy, but still serves as a valuable asset in terms of economic instability. We face the uncertainty of this global financial system. The question remains, could silver's role as money ever be resurrected? Absolutely. History repeats. In a world where central banks print money at will, Austrian economists argue that silver could provide a more stable, trustworthy alternative. Meanwhile, Keynesians might say the flexibility of fiat money allows governments the tools they needed to steer economies towards prosperity. But who ultimately runs the government? No matter which side of the debate you're on, silver's inherent value, its rarity and historical use, and tangible nature will give it a place in our financial system, even if that place continues to evolve. Thanks for tuning in this morning. Stay informed, stay tuned, stay stacking, and keep watching.
Now, regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today. So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
Vice President J.D. Vance, I'm proud to announce with HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and National Institute of Health Director Jay Kakapuna that Trump administration is launching a program to study long-term health effects of the chemical spill in East Palestine, Ohio, and help residents access the care they need. East Palestine.
We are entering what may be the most transformative moment in modern history. The pieces are aligning for a massive shift towards sovereignty, financial freedom, and justice on a global scale. The Supreme Court in Brunson case. The U.S. Supreme Court is set to deliver a ruling that could dissolve Congress and the current administration following revelations tied to the Brunson voter fraud case. U.S. military units are reportedly stationed in over 360 cities, standing ready as this critical decision nears. Could this be the final nail in the coffin for a corrupt political structure? Global emergency broadcast preparedness. Starting as early as Friday, the 20th of June, the world may experience the so-called 10 days of darkness. Traditional media outlets could go offline, replaced by continuous broadcasts detailing the takedown of entrenched corruption, the collapse of the fiat currency system, and the dawn of Jassara-compliant governance across 209 nations. Starlink will power these transmissions, ensuring a secure and uncensored stream of truth. Quantum Financial System, QFS, and Economic Reset, the QFS is live, Military cyber units have reportedly transferred 97% of global transactions to quantum-secured channels, locking down trillions in assets tied to illicit activities. Gold-backed rainbow currency is rolling out with bond redemptions and restitution wallets in motion. This means debt relief, fair wealth distribution, and an end to financial tyranny, medbeds, and global healing. In alignment with this economic restoration comes a health revolution. Medbed facilities are set for phased activation, prioritizing veterans, children, and the critically ill. Public demonstrations could soon reveal technologies that may restore health, reverse chronic conditions, and transform healthcare as we know it. Operation White Swan and Global Justice. Beneath the surface, operations like White Swan and Directive Omega aim to dismantle remaining deep state networks. From the seismic collapses in Idaho to financial raids in global hubs, the mission is clear: eliminate threats, restore balance, and usher in a new era of transparency. The 4th of July, 2025, a new beginning. Mark your calendars. This Independence Day may witness the declaration of a restored American Republic and the official launch of the global currency reset. The world will watch as sovereignty and freedom take center stage, backed by honest money and just governance. Patriots, stay vigilant. The road ahead promises both challenges and triumphs, but together, with faith and resolve, we will witness the rebirth of a world built on truth, justice, and prosperity.
A Swedish woman lost her wedding ring in the garden in 1995. 16 years later, she found it growing around a carrot in the same spot.